So, hi everyone, very good morning. I hope you are doing good.
Yes, sir.
What about you, sir?
Okay, so I think let's get started. Avi is not able to join today's as well, so let's get started meanwhile. So before starting the today's session, guys, do you have any questions, whatever things I have covered till now, related to mid server, related to firewall network policies, which we discussed, related to discovery and overview, types of discovery, data centers and protocols. Any questions in that, guys?
Ajay, some extra voice is coming from your side.
Extra voice. Is this
Yeah,
not clear to everyone? Hello?
means feedback explicative आ रहा है.
Okay, let me reconnect my headphone. One moment. Is this the same again? Are you able to hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, sure. So as I asked, is there any questions, any doubt, or which you want to be asked, whatever we covered till now?
So Ajay, like yesterday, you have said that port to be open on network firewall, right? So that
Yes.
port, that port will be 443 or only 443, right?
So the 443 port is for ServiceNow instance. So when you want to connect your mid server to ServiceNow instance, in that case only port 443 needs to be open. So in that case only 443 open, but agar if you want to discover any other devices or any other type of devices, then some specific ports needs to be open. So we are going to be discuss that particular thing today. So what ports required to be open for discovery of type of devices, as well as what port required to be open for, or what type of credentials we require to run that discovery on those particular devices. Okay, so I think let's get started then. Let me share my screen. Let me know once you're able to see my screen, guys.
Yes, we can see.
Yes, we can.
Okay, so as I mentioned, the same when we are opening any mid server to ServiceNow instance, the port 443 TCP is required, right? So that I already mentioned, right? The same way, in the source, destination, protocol, and type of devices that I've created in that way, the same way we have to be provide informations to customer while we are running discovery of any type of devices, and we wants to be open that particular port. Right. So if my discovery, I have already mentioned my mid server discovery mid server, and the discovery mid server can be different based on ServiceNow instances, right? So one mid server can be for development if we are doing discovery on development, and one mid server for QA or UAT, and or one or two mid servers for prod. So we need to be provide that information to customers. This is my source mid server IP, and then destinations I have put it all prod, DMG, test, or Windows Server IP, right? So it means if any Windows server which is lying in any zone of customer environment. So as you know, while as we are also doing development, so we have three type of instances, right? So UAT, test, or prod. The same way when customer is also using their infra, they have three types of zone basically. One is prod zone, second dematerialized zone, the DMZ zone. And management zone is also there sometimes, and the test zone, right? So if they need to be do some testing, so that particular server will need to be creating test zone in the customer infra only. The same way, if they want to be, put some, server in the management to managing the things only, not for the production. So they can, going to be install a Windows server in that particular zone. So we are mentioning here we need to be open the port for Windows Server in any zone, whatever the zone is there. And what are the port we required to be open? The port 135, where the TCP is not mentioned, all are the TCP except 137 UDP port, right? So port 137, 135, that 135 port is for WMI, right? And port 137, 139, 445, 443, and DCOM ports, data communication ports. So the data communication ports range start from 1025 to 5000 and 49152 to 65535. So these are the ports which we need to be open. So basically what will happen on the data communication ports when you are trying to discover a Windows server, to communicate data between mid server and to destination host which you want to be discovered, one port will be selected from there in the DCOM range, and that port required to be communicate. If the DCOM port are not opened, due to that, most of time when we are running discovery, we see that we are not able to see the issue related to port specifically, but we definitely see issue related to that authentication fail or access is not there. So that is the reason we are mentioning here that
Ajay, hello.
I think he loads your our connection.
Okay. Yeah.
So,
I hope you're able to hear me.
No, we lost you. We lost you for about a minute or so.
Yes, right. So due to some connectivity, I lost my connection. I'm just trying to reconnect. One moment only.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, I think it's connected now.
Hey, question
Okay,
here,
so
man. Question here on the Windows Server part. So the data communication ports need to be opened simultaneously when we connect to the Windows Server. For accessing Windows Server, we need this 135, 137 to be open, right? Is that correct?
right,
For
exactly.
Yeah. And data communication ports when we want to access the data within Windows Server. Is that right?
So when we are, let's take an example. If I need to be take RDP of Windows Server, right? So for RDP, we require port, right? So that RDP will working on, that like, Windows Server working on 135 and the RDP port is, I think, 445. So that particular port or 135, 139, that particular specific port is required to be open when you are taking RDP, right? But
what is
when
RDP?
Remote desktop protocol means you just want to take a remote of any virtual machine.
Sorry, what? When
Remote.
is this required?
So that is required. Let's take an example. Let me give an example here. You have your laptop, right? And you want to access customer Windows server with XYZ credentials or XYZ IPs, right? So how you are going to be take? You need to be take remote of it, right? Because you cannot directly access it. You cannot go to that like you are accessing your laptop directly. You can log in your laptop immediately as a hardware, right? But in the customer environment, you cannot log in directly to go to that particular hardware and log in it, right? In that case, you have to take the RDP or remote of that particular machine to do any information or anything related to that, right? So let me give an example here. One moment. How I am taking RDP in my machine. We have one app. I have one application. Remote, yeah, Microsoft Remote Desktop. So that is something. Okay, that is something if I want to take a RDP of any machine. So let's take an example. I want to be access that 172.214.100.224. It's not able to connect because it's down might be. But if I want to take a RDP of that one, or I need to be access that particular machine or server, I need to be connect from Microsoft Remote Desktop application, which is for MacBook. But if you are using Windows, out of the box, there is remote desktop connection will be there, right? So you can use that one, and you have to put the IP address and the credentials of that particular server which you want to access it. Right. So it will also help you, it will also help when you are going to be install a mid application on the customer environment Windows server. Right. If you are not able to access, how you are going to be install the mid application. Right.
Yeah.
Right. So that
Maybe
is
once we see it practically, then we'll understand the scenario.
Definitely right. So from next week we will start practically. We'll start with mid server installation and all other things. Specifically it's down. I've already prepared it. It's down for now, but I will make it up and we'll start on it.
So how can we install these things in our machine?
So that is not something installation because I'm using MacBook. I installed an application Microsoft Remote Desktop.
Okay.
Okay, that is a third-party application example or Microsoft application which I'm using in my laptop. And if you are using Windows machine, there might be a out of the box feature from Microsoft which we call remote desktop connection.
Desktop connection.
Right, or it should be start with remote if I'm not wrong. Can anyone check and confirm because I'm not using from last 6-7 years that Windows. Right, it's remote desktop. And how you want to access it? Is simply, let's take an example, add a PC. So here I need to be provide the IP of that particular PC or the machine which I want to be access and user account, right? So what type of, if I need to be create a new user account means I need to be add a new user account which provided by the customer to us to take the remote of it, right? So I will add need to be provide the username. If that is domain user, I have to provide in that way or in that way and then password, right? And just save it, right? So once it will create a record here. And if I want to be try to access anytime, I just need to be click and I can access it easily. To install mid applications, to check the connections, to run the some commands. Sometimes what customer says, which we feel, we open the port, we have given the credentials to you. Now it's not my responsibility if you are not able to run the discovery. But if you are facing any issue on the discovery, you have to give some evidence to customer. Okay, sir, the credentials which you provided to us, I try to take a RDP of it. I'm not able to do it. Means I'm not able to take the remote desktop of that it. But if the credentials are working, if port are open, definitely I will take the RDP of it or remote desktop of it, right? First thing. Second thing, sometimes we need to be log in our mid servers and need to be run some commands, WMI commands from our mid server to check. Basically, we call WBEM test, where we need to be put the IP and some configuration and credentials, and we need to be check the connections as well. So that time we also required that one. Sometimes we need to be check the connectivity for that specific port, like that port 135. So we need to be check why is that particular port is open. Anyone knows if I want to be check is that particular port is open from where the 2 or 3 things is there, how we can check it? Any idea? Anyone? Customer confirmed the port is open, right? Now it's your responsibility. You need to be confirm customer that yes, port is open and that is working. Or you have to be customer confirm to customer that port is not open. I'm not able to find anything. So how you are going to be confirmed to check that particular port is open or not? Any idea?
I think
Anyone?
recently I have a video or seen this video on the command prompt. I think
From command,
on the
from what
command
command,
prompt.
what command I have to write there?
The net set, I think, NET,
No, net state is not the
and
command to check the
it
connection.
editor.
No.
To check the connection, you just need
Yes.
to ping the IP address and see what happens. Ping that
that
particular IP. Yeah.
right. So ping to that particular IP give you the confirmation that particular server is on and responding.
Yeah.
But it will not give you the confirmation that port 135 is open on that server or not. Okay. That
Yeah.
let me tell you that command. So let me open
That command
this.
is IP config.
No, ipconfig is also not that command, right? So command is
CMD
yes.
I'm talking about.
Yeah, sorry, which one?
CMD, CMD. C for Charlie, M for Mike, D for Delta.
Right, but CMD is also not a command. To check the connection from mid server to destination host, the command is telnet. You have to be mentioned the destination server IP example 10.0.0 and then port. So when you are running that particular command from command prompt, you will see immediately when once you run that particular command, that screen goes blank. Means if command prompt screen goes blank, it means connection successful. Okay, and if not, definitely it will give you an error. Basically error is something it will showcase you I will try to run that particular command and it's not making connection. That is one thing to check the port. Second thing, sometimes we see the customer is not enabled doing telnet from that particular machine due to some security reasons. Then second things comes in the picture. There is one tool which we call port query. That is a free tool, and this is from Microsoft. Okay, you can take an approval from customer and you can install that particular application to Windows Server or your mid server, because every time you have to check the connections from your mid server only. Because if your mid server is able to reach out that particular destination command on a specific port, then it will good. Otherwise, you cannot confirm. So port query, you can install it. And what is the benefit of port query? From command prompt, you are able to do telnet or check the connections for TCP ports only. But port query also give you the confirmation or give you the visibility for the UDP ports as well. So UDP ports, whatever the UDP ports I have mentioned here, example 137, from command prompt, you can't telnet or you can't check the connection for the UDP ports. They are not giving you any response. But from the port query, if you are mentioning the port type UDP, and if you are selecting that information or that the destination host from the mid server, it will showcase you that information as well, that port that whatever the port you are trying to do, that connection is working. That is second thing. Third thing is, now you don't have these particular two informations, but still you are sure that discovery is not running. Might be there is some port issue. The third thing is Sesam probe. So basically, when you are running discovery on XYZ IP or you are running discovery on 10.0.04 IP, from ServiceNow instance, So, that first probe or the first thing will be triggered that we called Sesame probe. In that Sesame probe input queue, I will showcase you those things as well. In the Sesame probe input queue, you are able to see that is this particular port open or not. That is the three best ways to check the connectivity from mid server, or to check the connectivity for that particular IP or the destination port, to confirm customer that is working. That is happen most of the time with us as well. Customer mentioning that port is open, sir, we are not sure what you are doing, what is wrong with you, right? But to make or to convince him, we have to come with some of the evidence. We have to be mentioned, sir, I tried telnet, that is not working. I tried port query, that is also not working. Or I checked in my ServiceNow discovery logs, that is also not working.
So could you repeat this Shazam probe? How does it work? What we have to do exactly?
Let me showcase you. I think I have that is ready. Let me log into my PDA right away. One moment only. I think that will give you the more clarity.
Okay. And just one basic question here. So all these things we should be querying from mid server command prompt, right?
Yes.
How do we access mid server command prompt?
Oh, okay. So mid server command prompt. Mid server is nothing. Again, as I mentioned, mid server is a Windows server.
Correct,
So
correct.
you have to take a remote of that particular Windows server, and you have to run the command.
Okay, we have to take the okay.
Right. So I just, I already run a couple of discovery in my PDI. One moment, if it is okay, yeah. Let me open the discovery status. Just to showcase you, I'm not running any new discovery. Let me open this one. Or let me open this one as well. See, so this is something, ECC queue is deleted, my bad. Let me open some, okay. Here is also not. Let me check if somewhere ECC queue is available. Okay, let me. So I'm on my PDI. I'm doing couple of things, so you can see lots of things here. Let me see if something is available. No. Let me do one thing right away. Okay, let me try to discover that particular device. So where I have to go? We have to go in discovery schedule and run the quick discovery here. My mid server is down if I'm not wrong. Yeah, I cannot run that as well. Okay, but basically, if I give you an example, here in the ECC queue, the queue will be triggered, and you can see that all phases of the discovery, means that is a Sesame one. In the agent, you or in the topic, you can see the information of it, like that is a Sesame topic. Second, that is classification topic. The third is identification and exploration. These are the four phases of the discovery, right? So here you can see the logs of it, right? So one queue is related to output. Output queue is something, whatever information is passing from mid server to the destination host, which we want to be discovered. First thing. Second thing, if you are getting some response from destination server to mid server, that will come to the input queue, right? So we have to look that particular queue, input queue, to see the responses. Let me showcase you here. That is something cloud discovery. Okay, this is also deleted because I run couple of days back. That is the case, might be that is deleted here because ECC queue is removed after 1 week automatically. And that is long back I did. Okay, but yeah, it will give you that information about it. Definitely from Monday I will take it, I will ready my server. It's already ready, but as I'm using Azure and free virtual machines there due to some load or all that particular things that is down. So I'm not able to do that, but I will make it mid server to be ready, and will showcase you to install the mid server again. Let me open the Azure portal meanwhile, and will showcase you that one. Or let me make it up my mid server ready. Oh, my service is ready. Here, Azure. I think one moment only, guys. I think I'm logged in now. So let me see. Here is my devices.
Also, please show us how do you actually take the remote connectivity of that mid server once it is installed in the customer environment. How do you take the remote connectivity of that mid server and check these connections? Yeah,
definitely. I will showcase you. Let me restart off it. Meanwhile, I think we have 30 minutes now. Before going to days, I think I will showcase you that logging of the mid server, right? Or that particular Windows machine first of all. And if you are logged into Windows machine, you are able to access the mid server as well, right? So
yeah.
I'll just taken the restart of it.
Sure. Also, let us know from Monday, because we are doing practical things. We need to be ready with PDI. What all applications we need to, plugins we need to install. Of course, Discovery plugin we have to install, and in order to have this Azure virtual machines and everything ready, do we need to do anything from our end? If you can give that information.
I will update you that as well, right? So because you doing something on Azure, you little bit need to know about Azure as well. If you are
Okay.
not familiar with Azure, I think you cannot provision that particular machines from Azure portal and all, because I already completed my Azure fundamental certification, so I know a little bit about it. That's why I'm able to go
Okay.
here and there, right? But yeah, definitely I will tell you how you have to be proceed further to take that visibility of all the things, right?
Sure.
So as I mentioned, right, that port, these are the specific port we need to be open for the Windows server. The same way when we are talking about Linux servers, right? So port 22 required to be open from mid server to the destination devices, and the port should be there, right? So as I mentioned, what network team do, just to reiterate that one, they will check what is the request. So source is my 10.0.0.4 example. Then what is destination? Destination is all about XYZ IP or 10.0.0.3 example. So they will put in their network firewall ACL's access control list. Okay, this is the source, and he wants to be access that particular port on this particular IP or that particular subnet. If they know that all subnets or these particular subnets belongs to Linux machine, they will open the straightforward subnet directly for the port 22.
Okay.
Okay, and the same way, for the network devices, they need to be open 161. So it's just as we are working on graphical interface of ServiceNow. The same way they have a graphical interface of their network firewalls. So the couple of network firewalls or types of available, like Cisco network firewall or Fortinet, or there are a couple of others, right? So they have graphical interface where they can log in and they can see is the traffic is passing. They can put the source IP, they can put the destination IP, they can put the port type, they can put port as well. So everything is visible on their screens to check the communication. If it is not, then they have to just add a policy, and they have to be pass our mid server IP or the range or the particular port to be enabled it. That's it. So that is also a little bit easy to handle it from their side. And if they are on legacy, then they have to be login on from CLI for that particular network firewall, and they have to be add using some commands. But in nowadays, which we have, because we are collaboratively working with network team to get that enabled, so they have, GUI as of now, good graphic interface where they can enable each and everything in couple of seconds or couple of minutes only.
Okay, opening the ports is their duty, right? It is not our duty because we will not have access to the firewall. We cannot,
Right.
yeah, we cannot open the ports. So irrespective of whether these teams know what is the IP address range for the Linux machines to open the port 22, or they don't know the IP range, it is not a problem of the ServiceNow team. It is the team, it is the firewall team that need to handle all this stuff, right?
Exactly. So, that firewall team is just responsible to open the firewall ports. That
Firewall
is, right. They are not responsible for the IP ranges or whatever we want.
Correct. I get it.
That right. So we have to take it from
Okay.
different teams and or the stakeholder which we are working for the discovery, which IPs we need to be discovered, or we have to be analyzed on those particular IP ranges what type of device is open or what type of device is there.
Right.
Let me give an example. What is happened most of the time when we don't know the device type on a specific IPs or IP ranges, when we go to the customer, we need to be open on that particular IP range port 22 example. He opened port 22, but actually that particular IP range is belongs to Windows. So you are trying, you open port 22, you have Linux credentials, you are trying to discover and you are not able to discover it. You are thinking in your mind, that is a Linux server, but actually in the back end that is a Windows server. So that not able to discover anyhow using port 22 or credentials of Linux. Getting my point? So that's why we need to be understand what is the device type which we want to discover in ServiceNow. Okay,
Right.
as well as so couple of times what will happen if we ask, let's take this IP range and enable all ports related to discovery only, not the accept one, but let me give you an example as well. So let's take an example. We have a IP range 10.20.2.3.0/24. Okay, so here in this 24 subnet, we have 254 IPs. Now customer is don't know about what type of 254 IPs belongs to which is the device type, and they mentioned you let's enable the all ports. Okay, now they enable the Windows Server port, Linux port, or SNMP port example. They open 3 ports on that particular devices. If you don't have the correct, because classification happening on the ports now, if all port open on every IP, then it will going to be it will check the all ports. Now we found all ports are
Correct.
open, right?
Correct.
Then again, if then classification happening on the credentials which is we stored in the ServiceNow table, so it will check the credentials for all type of devices. So there is some, in the Sesam Pro, there is some order which is running, like it will check WMI port first, or then SNMP port, that SSH port, and then different port is going to be checked, right? The same way, if all port open, the same way it's going to be checked the all credentials available in ServiceNow table, right? Again, the load is heavy now because we have found all port open. Then we have 10 credentials for Windows only, or 10 credentials for Linux only, or 10 credentials for SNMP. Now we have 30 credentials for each type, right? So he need to be checked the all credentials. Whatever the credential is passing, based on that he will going to be classify that particular device. Getting my point? And sometimes what will happen, port 22 is open, Linux, Linux credential passed on it, but that actual device is SNMP. It's not a Linux credential, or it's not a Linux device. So we are chasing with customer will come us and ask us, that particular device is unclassified or classified in the wrong class. it's a Linux, it's not a Linux machine, it's a network device. Then again, we have to be check the logs, okay, why it's going to be classified. So we need to be understand, we need to be identify that, sir, we found port 22 open, and then we found that in Linux credential passed on that machine. That's why it's going to be classified. That's why we are trying customer to understand need to be open the specific port on specific device only. If 161 open on the network devices only, or the port 22 open on the network devices only, then it will, use the network credentials only. It's not going to be use the Linux credentials or those other credentials. Getting my point?
Yeah, getting it. But what if the customer doesn't have the information on what type of devices are available on a particular range of IP addresses? So then there is no option for us, right? We need to ask them to enable all the ports on all the devices which are in this range, right?
Definitely. Or that is the one case which we can follow. Or
Mhm,
what I feel somehow it's a big customer or it's a small customer. They have somewhere in network inventory.
mhm,
I think they are using Excel or some other tool. They
mhm,
have specific network inventory. We need to be try to find out that network inventory from
mhm,
there, or we need to be get it right. If
mhm.
that network inventory provided by them and we can use it, I think that will solve our 70 to 80% problems or issues.
Okay.
20% I can understand, we don't know about the 20% device type, so we have to be focus on 20%. If we get to know about 80%, if we don't also know 100%, then again we have to be focused on 100% device types, what type of device, what is that, authentication and all. So we have to going in a sea to find out the solutions around it.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
Right, so that's why we are asking the specific port. So communication will be very clear to that particular devices to the mid server.
Right. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. If we okay, so if we go by step process, Ajay. See,
Mhm.
first when we install mid server,
Mhm.
first step is installing mid server on ServiceNow application.
Mhm.
Also on customers, one of the depending on the customer's network size or
Mhm.
infrastructure size, it has to be installed on one or two Windows servers on a different
Mhm.
machine. So once this process is completed, when we start the discovery,
Mhm.
uh, what's the next step from our service now, and the
Yeah.
start the query process that
Right. So
whatever.
there
Yeah.
are there are three things which is going in parallel, right?
Mm-hmm,
First of all, if I layman term, if I say we need to
mm-hmm,
be understand the customer requirements or edges configurations, whatever they are using
mm-hmm,
during some workshop sessions and all, right?
mm-hmm,
Second is we have to submit our pre-req. Once means we have to be submit our prereq sheet to the customer that mid server we required. This is a configuration of the mid server. That is the port open, or that is the credentials we required.
mm-hmm.
Obviously, that but complete process will take at least 1 week to be
Okay.
get this done all things. So
Mm-hmm,
what we have to be take care, we have to be push customer to get the mid server in we enroll Windows server as soon as possible. So what that is enroll, they will share you the ID and password, username and password and IP of the mid server or Windows server, and you
mm-hmm,
can take a remote of it and you can install the mid server application on it to take it further, right? Now and that network team is working on firewall policies, or the infra team is working to configure the credentials. The in this particular time they are working, we have to be collect the IP ranges or IP information from the customer, right?
mm-hmm,
So once those particular things are done, we have to go to schedule, or we have to run the discovery schedules to configure the discovery using that particular mid server, and scan the whole network. But what my suggestion is, if we are going to be discover first time the whole network of the customer using
mm-hmm.
the IP ranges, we should run discovery in non-peak hours or non-office hours. So
No,
it means, right, so it's non-working hours basically, right? If customer belongs to India, definitely will going to be run by, late night 10 p.m. to in morning 6 p.m. or 6 a.m. And if customer belongs to another region, so the same time we have to be follow based
Okay.
on their non-working hours. So might be what will happen, because while we are running first time discovery and we know thousands of IPs are there, it will increase the load on the ServiceNow instance. And what I feel couple of times when we are doing first time, ServiceNow instance is running little slowly if we don't have the proper node installed or node running on that ServiceNow instance. So as in development or in our prod or in QA, we are not using much nodes. We are using 1 or 2 nodes from the ServiceNow side, right? The semaphores are very less. The same way, we have to be take care that particular thing on the production as well. So it will not going to be impact anything for the customer side while we are running discovery.
Okay. Okay. So
So
we'll follow these steps one by one, right? When we are doing the practical things.
yeah,
You know,
definitely
the
everything.
yeah.
So
Let us discuss. Yeah, let us discuss these steps. When you're doing the practical sessions. So this is the step 1. This is the step 2. So we get the view of practical environment, actual project environment. So it enables us to be project ready. So that's all I'm requesting.
definitely.
So, yeah.
That is my I will after this session I will showcase you my agenda. It's
Yeah,
little bit
okay.
big agenda, right? So related to
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
So don't worry, I'm going with my agenda only as of now, and I'm trying
Yeah.
to going with
No,
that particular things.
no, Ajay. Ajay and others, you might be thinking I'm too enthusiastic, but the thing is, uh, we have to be project ready. That is the objective of this training. Otherwise, theoretical and without having any proper scenario based or project ready based, then the training is of no use. So that's why I'm
No,
asking more and
definitely.
more questions. Yeah, so that's it. Yeah.
I definitely agreed, right? And that is my, motto as well. If you are, taking that particular training, you should be learn something, right? And you can use you can use that particular skills on your project. That is my motto as well. So I'm going with that. Anyone else raise her or his hand?
No, it's me. I'll lower
Okay,
it.
it's you only. Okay, fine, no issue. So then we have to be configure those particular ports for storage and vCenter, right? So I will showcase you all things related to when we are doing discovery on those particular type of devices, right? Then let's talk about little bit on credentials. So credentials, I've specifically mentioned these are the most of the devices using by organization. Windows, we required a domain user with local admin credentials. It should be a service account with password never expiry and not required to change on the first login. So basically what is happened, if you remember or when you are creating any account on ServiceNow, local user account on ServiceNow, it will ask you to change your password on the first login most of the time, right? And second thing, it will be logged if you are using couple of times the wrong password. So what we are trying to ask customer here when we are asking a domain account, we need to be that particular will be a service accounts. Why we are asking service accounts? Service accounts having some features or more access related to that. We can set never expiry that account. We can set never logged that particular account, and we can set password will not required to change on the first login. So that's why we are asking a service account to the customer with on domain of those particular network. Okay. And then next is discovery to be performed by WMI as an administrator user is required with local admin. So here it's not a complete admin, it's a local admin user with WMI access on that particular user. Additionally, if customer is running antivirus, that should be allow, or our mid server IP should be allow for inbound connections to access that particular Windows server. Sometimes what will happen when we are running discovery from our mid server, and if antivirus is running on that Windows server, it's not going to be allow taking the connections from mid server to Windows server, right? Then we required to be access the inbound connections on antivirus. Okay, and then next is the Unix server. Unix servers or Linux servers or AIX, that is required a root credential with Unix host. Root is something a complete admin, right? But customer is not providing that complete admin to us. So what will say in that case, if customer is not able to provide the root access, customer need to be provide credentials with the following access requirements as per the required attached document. I will showcase you the document what I'm talking about here, right? So customer need to provide the sudo access on couple of I can say couple of commands, so we can run or sudo can run that particular commands and we will get the informations related to that. Sudo is something uh, it just equivalent to admin for some commands only. So if customer is providing a complete admin, we can do each and anything, but customer is not providing, so we can ask to give admin role or the sudo role for some specific command, so we can run using that command, you run that particular commands using sudo and will capture the informations from there. Okay, then network devices, we required network read-only credentials. There are three types of credentials earlier, but now ServiceNow is only promoting two, SNMP v2 and SNMP v3. So I will showcase you the credentials type as well. So SNMP v2 is where we required a community string and we called password. There is no username, only a password will provided by the customers. And SNMP v2 credentials type is using for the legacy devices. It's not now as I seen, it's v2 is not using more by the customers. They have migrated their all devices from v2 to v3. V3 is more secured, where username will be provided, authentication type or authentication protocol will be provided to you, and the key of that particular provided to you to use it. Then vCenter is credentials. vCenter again read-only credentials will be provided, and again that the credentials is username and password only on the domain. If vCenter running on the domain, if it is not running on the domain, we require a normal username and password with the read-only access on the vCenter. And the next is storage. So storage, we required same credentials, and again to discover complete storage in complete manner, we required admin credentials only. Without admin credentials, we cannot run the storage. And lots of time when we are discussing with customer to provide admin access on the storage, customer is not providing to us. So what we suggest to them, they have a SIM server, which we call a common interface model basically. So they have a SIM server. SIM server is, we can say, a management server basically, where they attach or all storage is configured with them. So once we are able to discover the SIM server, we are able to discover the all attached storage to that particular SIM. So we are going to be use that particular prefer method instead of creating an admin account on storage devices directly. So any questions in that? Okay. And anyone have any questions before moving to the next thing? I just want to showcase you, whatever that, I will follow basically with the customer. So, okay, let me showcase you something, that particular pre-req sheet, which you, Rakesh, you asked me yesterday.
Yeah.
Right. So, but what I am following, this is first one of the things, that questionnaires which we can say, or the edges, like, what, please list the approximate number of target devices you are looking for discover. Please place down the geographical locations where these devices exist. Can you please provide the network architecture and connectivity diagram dictating different security zones, right? These are the basics question. I will share that particular sheet. I think I don't have an issue to share with you guys, right? So these are the particular questions.
Yeah, Ajay, sorry, Rahul here. These are the sprint that what the client is providing, the task.
Sorry, come again.
These are the sprint or the task or something that they are provided.
So these are the questions when we are doing workshop sessions or when we are preparing anything for the discovery, we are asking to the customer what is the device type, what is the data centers you have, what is the dark architecture of it. So it helped to analyze how many mid servers we required, how we are going to be configure the discovery, what type of devices they have available, each and everything.
Okay, okay.
Okay. Rakesh, do you have anything?
No, bro, no. Sorry.
Okay. Okay, and then next is mid-server configuration. So as I mentioned, already mentioned with you, like in OS we required this and this with 64-bit RAM. I'm just mentioning 16 GB. CPU I'm mentioning 80 core and hard disk I'm mentioning 250 GB. As I mentioned, I'm just giving you the count, giving the count of the mid applications of the customer or Windows server. So we required two mid server in at least in dev, two mid servers in DC prod environment, and if customer have DR as well, we're asking the two mid server as well in the DR. And this is something configuration things. And apart from that, what software I am asking to the customer which help to easy my life while we are working on the discovery. Right, so JRA, JDK version, because that is out required to be run that particular application, .NET framework, Google Chrome and Mozilla Firefox. So when customer is providing a Windows machine to us, most of the time they are not providing a browser to us. We have to use all of the time the out of the box browser which is coming with which is available with basically with Windows, like that is something Internet Explorer or some other, right? So we need to be specifically asked to provide at least Google Chrome or Mozilla Firefox. Microsoft SQL management library we required. PowerShell we required above 2.0. So PowerShell is something where we can use to run the commands to check some specific things if we want to check for Windows Server. Then we required Notepad++ software to check or see the logs of mid servers. Sometimes we have to be open. So Notepad++ gives that thing to us to be open or to see in correct manner that particular logs to be understand, right? As I mentioned, we required port query. Port query is something which I mentioned related to take or check the connections between mid server and the destination host. Then we required SNMP walk. This is something, it's a freeware software again. This is something required while we are doing discovery of network devices, and if it is available on the mid servers, we can do some, we can test, we can run some SNMP commands or SNMP things to check the connections or check the issues related to mid servers. That manage engine browser is required. SNMP browser, again, it's a browser to check the complete SNMP hierarchy or that particular OID hierarchy, right? So these are the basic softwares which I am asking to the customers, so it will help to easy my life well when we are working. And couple of times, couple of things which have the licenses is customer is not able to provide, but as I mentioned, all these three are free softwares, right? So we that can be provided by them. Manage engine can be a licensed software, so might that not be provided, right? Or customer can also provide some alternate solutions of those particular softwares as well to us. Then I mentioned pre-req, right? So we discussed about credentials, right? We discussed about those particular ports, whatever the ports we required. One thing which I mentioned here, refer that particular sheet, right? For pre-req, I have attached this one. So this is a particular commands. Let me little bit zoom. These are the particular commands. If customer is not providing sudo access to us, we require those commands, root access to us, then we require those particular commands should be provided by customer, so we can get that information, right? So DMI decode we required on all Linux machine, where he needs to be access that of DMI decode in this particular file, right? LSOF that is required for all Linux versions. Here ABD, ADB, right, that is required for HP UX platform only. So that also available on ServiceNow documentation, that is required for specific Linux flavors, right? Again, if on the Linux flavors, some directory is running or configuration file is running related to applications like Apache, HBase, JBoss. So we require read access of those particular files as well. So we can read the data from there and we can create an application from the discovery. If that read access is failed, we are not able to discover the application with, yeah.
Okay, I'll have to disconnect now. I'll refer to the rest of the video after the class. Kindly share this file with us.
Sure, definitely. I will do that.
Yeah,
No
thank
worries.
you so much.
Okay. So sure. Thank you, Rakesh. So guys, we have to be take care those particular things. We have to be asked the customer for those particular accesses. And as I mentioned, these things available on the internet or on the ServiceNow documents available. Everything is available. I have just created from there only, and it's it's little bit before that I've created, but I can share with you and you can update it as well. These are the basics things related to while we are discussing about discovery, we can use those particular informations, right? So whatever I've covered I've covered the basics of discovery till now, and from Monday we are going to be installed. We are going to be start the practical of each and everything whatever I've covered till now. And as I mentioned, let me try the remote of this machine if it is working or if it is up now. Let me see. It's up. Let me. Oh, okay. Might be there is some issue. I will fix it, and will showcase you how we have to be take the RDP or remote desktop, how we are going to be install the mid applications. Once we install the mid applications, how that will be available in the ServiceNow instance, how it's going to be connect with the discovery, how discovery will running, how discovery schedule we need to be configure. Each and everything will going to be cover on it. So guys, any questions in that as of now?
Yeah, I am good.
No, Ajay, I'm also good.
Okay. Sure. So I think we are good for today. Then we'll meet you tomorrow, Monday, and I will start, preparing my ServiceNow instance and other things to be showcased with the demo on those sites, right? Let